Well, Dr. Rose John is here with us, a nutritionist, as we focus on understanding how best we can balance that, and especially when it comes to dealing with diabetes or managing diabetes, or even prior, so that we avoid scenarios where we can be diagnosed by or with diabetes. And so we have Dietary here to help us understand some more. I know it can be very hard to balance and to manage the condition having been diagnosed, but it is possible, and therefore she will be taking us through this conversation for us to get to understand. And this is a conversation that is really important for everybody, not just a person who has diabetes. No. Because we could be staying with them, and therefore we need to understand at what point do we have foods on the same pot or from the same pot, and at what point do we have to separate the pots, and do we really have to do it anyway? And so this I would want for you to be part and parcel of. Hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV47KE. Special focus on diabetes mellitus. And so, Dr. it's good to have you this morning as we get into the conversation. We keep saying that managing blood sugar is the key to living with diabetes. That's what they normally say. And well, there's no better way of managing blood sugar than to make sure that you eat well, balance your nutrition or balance your diet, so that at least you have a proper nutrition. And so it is important that we have this conversation. But just exactly what does it mean to eat well? That's where then the nutritionist comes on board and will simply put this to perspective. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much. Yes, today we are learning about diabetes, and we are talking more on diabetes type 2 or diabetes mellitus.
Yeah.
We have juvenile diabetes, which is it gets people when they are young most of the time, and that is lack of insulin in the body. And diabetes type 1 is an autoimmune disease. It's not established what causes diabetes type 1, but they believe that the cells in the pancreas, they attack each other, and then the person gets that we don't have enough insulin in the body to balance sugar. So the work of insulin is to balance sugar in the blood. So it's a hormone that we get it from the pancreas. So immediately you eat food, the body calls for the insulin so that it can balance the sugar and take sugar back to the tissues in your body. So as we talk about diabetes type 2, most of the people, they believe that diabetes or Diabetes Association of Kenya or Association of America or even in Canada, they believe that diabetes is a chronic degenerative disease. It's not reversible. And sometimes I say as a nutritionist, that's not true, because this is a dietary disease. It is caused by diet. So today we want to know, how is it caused by diet? And how can we reverse diabetes type 2? Is it curable? Most of the people ask like that. You see, once a person is diagnosed with diabetes type 2, they think it is the end of the day or end of the road, because they say, the doctor will tell you, you will live on drugs so that you can manage diabetes. In the real sense, we don't manage diabetes. When you are doing drugs, you don't manage diabetes. Okay. Because what you manage is blood sugar. It is sugar in the blood. That means you live on drugs so that you can manage sugar in the blood. But diabetes itself is still getting worse. Diabetes Association of Kenya, they say diabetes type 2 is insulin resistant. That is the disease. Insulin resistance is the disease. But sugar in the blood is a symptom. So we are treating the symptom instead of you treating insulin resistance, so that the sugars can come down automatically. And so if we are to treat then the condition itself, what are we supposed to do? Is it at this point then that the conversation of food and eating well comes in? Yes. So how then do you eat well when you have diabetes? Okay, you see, the viewers should understand the symptoms of diabetes type 2 first. Okay. When they get to understand that, they will know how to reverse it or to cure it completely, because it is very possible. Because I tell my learned friends, how can you treat a dietary disease with a pill? It will never work. Because this is a dietary problem. We go to the cause of the disease. Okay. And most of the time they will ask you a question, is this thing running in your family? And most of the time, you will find that it is in the family. But as I've always said, that diseases doesn't run in the families. No, but diet does. It is not the disease that runs in the family, it is diet. Because if my father had diabetes and I continue with poor lifestyle, definitely I'll get diabetic.
Okay.
In my DNA level, I can be having diabetes. That my body can show diabetes anytime, any symptoms of diabetes anytime.
But if
I eat well,
okay,
it will never show. I'll never get diabetes.
Okay.
So diet runs in the family. And that's why we keep asking questions. Does your grandmother, did your grandfather, did your uncle or your aunt had the same problem? So if we get to understand the symptoms of diabetes type 2, one is frequent hunger. You feel hungry most of the time. Second, frequent urination. You see, you want to relieve yourself several times in a day. And maybe even sometimes you have not taken enough water. That thing is thirst. You feel thirsty. The body is just calling for water. You take a glass of water, but when you put it down, you still need more. The body is asking for more, and that's what causes frequent urination when you have diabetes type 2. Another symptom is numbness or tingling of your hands and the feet. That's another symptom that shows that maybe it's an early symptom that's showing that you are going to get diabetes at long run. We have, in women, most of the time, we have what you call candidiasis or yeast infection, which is persistent. The doctor have tried to treat it, but it's not going.
Okay.
So most of the time I say, test for sugars in your blood, and you get it, it will be positive, or most of the time it's positive. Those are just symptoms that shows that you have diabetes. Sometimes fatigue, sometimes blurred vision. You see, those ones are showing that it's good you go and check whether you have diabetes type 2. So when you have such symptoms, what have triggered the symptoms? That's now we come to diet. Whatever you eat every day, it's what makes you Linda. Every day, you are what you eat. What you eat today, it will walk and talk tomorrow. So with the diabetes type 2 is insulin resistance. What do I mean by when I say resistant? I mean this, if I'm addicted to hormones, things like hard drugs, you know, if I start cocaine today or marijuana, the first day I will feel that I'm high because I'm not used or I don't take. But the second day, the third day, or after 1 month, I won't feel high with the first dose because now the body is becoming resistant to this thing that I'm taking every day. So when I have a wound, maybe I have a wound at my toe, then there will be a gland which will come here.
Yes.
When I go to the doctor, I don't tell the doctor that I have a wound, but I'll complain of this gland. Definitely the doctor will treat the gland.
The gland as opposed to
will the wound go?
No.
No. It will still get worse. When you have an infection, tonsillitis, sometimes you have infection, lung infection, you feel pain and maybe you have fever. So when you go to the doctor will, if the doctor will misdiagnose you, the doctor will just treat the fever and the pain, and then you'll go back home. And that's most of the time you'll hear many cases that we took the patient at night to the hospital, the doctor gave something to relieve the fever and the pain, but comes morning we find that the patient is worse because the disease itself is not treated. This is the case with the diabetes type 2. We treat the sugars, but we don't treat the issue of hormone insulin, which is resistant in the body. What is causing it to be resistant? If you understand that, millions of people will be able to treat or to reverse type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
Most of the time they have come to my clinic, and I have just done simple treatment. The first thing we do is to detox the whole body, to remove toxins and metabolic waste and whatever, and to balance the chemistry of the liver, the kidney, to make sure that every organ is working at par. Then we change the diet, which is the common cause of the disease. So when you eat food, I have just a demonstration here.
Okay. I hope we can have that on air. Yes, good.
When we eat food, the body stores the food in two parts.
Okay.
When you eat food, the body will store the food as glycogen in the liver. That is for emergency. When you have not eaten food, the body will go back to the store and take back the glycogen to the blood so that you don't feel fatigued and you continue working. So when you continue eating food, the body will still store.
Okay.
So from January 1 to December 31st, you have never skipped any meal. You eat every time. Every time is eating time, and you eat anything, anytime, anywhere. So what is the work of the body? The body will store this food into the tissues. Okay. In form of glycogen in the liver and in form of fat into the tissues. So every time you eat, the body stores. But when you don't eat, the body goes back to the tissue. It will start burning the glycogen in the liver. So when you continue fasting, or when you continue, maybe where you are working, you cannot get food, the body will continue burning the glycogen until when the glycogen is over in the liver, it will burn the fat in the tissues. So every time you eat, the body stores food. So you have been eating every time, anyhow, anything, especially the carbs. Most of the people, they like taking more carbs. And when the more you take the carbs, the more you feel hungry.
Oh, yeah.
So you want to eat more. So the more you eat, the body calls for insulin to take the sugars back to the tissues. So the more you eat, the body calls for insulin. The insulin takes back sugar to the tissues because the food that you have taken, it has sugar. Okay. Like carbohydrates, the body turns into glucose, into sugar. It's a chain of sugar. We say carbohydrate, the starch. It's a chain of sugar. So when it gets into the body, it's glucose. So what is the work of the pancreas? Is to give more insulin. So because of giving more insulin to balance the food that you have taken, which has more sugar, now the body get used to that insulin. So it's funny because what causes insulin resistance is insulin itself. So as you continue eating, the body stores until there is nowhere else to store. Okay. So what happens? Now the sugars cannot be balanced in the blood. So the more you continue taking food that have sugar, it will spill into the blood. Okay. And when now it spills into the blood, that's now you start feeling the symptoms.
So it contaminates the blood?
Exactly, because now the blood is full of sugar, nothing to balance. The insulin has become resistant because it's now used to the body. It's like in the disease of alcoholism. You cannot treat alcoholism with alcohol. You cannot do that. As I always say, if you get people into rehabilitation, they are never given alcohol because they have a disease, they have a situation. This is what has caused the problem. But now, when we withdraw alcohol from them, what do they get? Withdraw symptoms. Maybe they will not see properly. They will shake, they won't sleep. Maybe they will be biased, You see, because there is something that the body has been used, but now you have withdrawn from the system. From the system. Okay. So the same thing with diabetes. We cannot treat diabetes type 2 with insulin. Okay. Because it is not that you don't have insulin.
You have plenty of it that has
You have plenty of insulin in your blood, in your body, or in the pancreas. The body is giving more insulin. So when we go to the conventional world, I say when the sugars are fluctuating, the symptoms are high, the sugars are reading from 15 and above, you need to take the insulin to control the symptoms. Now you are controlling the sugars. You are not treating the resistance of insulin. The resistance of insulin is the disease. Okay. Sugar in the blood is the symptom. And that is why in conventional world, they tell us diabetes type 2 is chronic disease. You have to learn to live with it. Why? Because they treat the symptom. Okay. No,
that is to say then the whole process is reversible. If at all you're going to eat proper,
exactly.
If at all you're going to observe, the right ways of balancing the diet and nutrition and all that. All right, we're learning it, huh?
You see, when you are on insulin with diabetes, you see diabetes type 1, you don't have insulin. So you need insulin. That is when we are supposed to treat diabetes type 1 with, you don't have the insulin to balance sugar. So you need to be given insulin to balance sugar. But with diabetes type 2, you have enough insulin, but it is more than what you are supposed to have. So you become resistant. You take more alcohol, you become resistant to alcohol. So we want to save you from alcohol.
Okay.
So we want to save you from insulin resistance.
All right.
So when you eat food, food is what calls for insulin. Every time you take food, it calls for insulin. So the key here, we need to know what are we supposed to do that the body should not give more insulin, to start with withdrawing insulin from the body. Because the thing is, sugar has spilled in the blood. Now you have all symptoms that is showing that sugar have spilled all over the blood. So what are we going to do? That the body should recognize the insulin which is in the system, not from outside. Because when you are given insulin from outside, it doesn't mean your sugars are not, your diabetes is not getting worse. It is getting worse. You will have bad vision, you will have stroke, you will have hypertension, the kidneys will fail, and you are still taking something for the sugar. Because you are treating sugar, you are not treating diabetes. You are treating the symptom. I want my viewer to get that. We don't need to treat the symptom. When the sugars are high, it's good to take the insulin to control the symptoms. But for how long are you going to do that? You need to go to the cause, which is diet. Diet is causing insulin resistance because of eating carbohydrates, because of eating refined foods, because of eating starch. That one is calling for more insulin. It has been calling for insulin from since you were born to until when you are 50s, 40s, 30s. Today we have people at 20s with diabetes. Why? Because when you have too much of insulin, that is debatable. If you have too much of insulin in the body, you gain weight. So those people with, those who are obese, insulin is the major cause of weight. So when you give a client insulin, when the client goes home, after 2 months, the clients come back to you. And then they complain, Dietary, you know, after taking the insulin, I have gained 5 kgs, I have gained 10 kgs. Then the doctor is like, no, you have to continue taking the insulin, but exercise.
So you need to
but
balance.
You see, it is not lack of exercise. You see, it's not lack of exercise that has caused you to gain weight.
But in most cases, the doctors will tell you exercise, but at the same time also
you know why they tell you to exercise?
Diet.
You know why they tell you to exercise? The more you exercise, the more you burn sugar in the blood. The body now uses that sugar. So if you're a working class person, you're in the office from morning to evening, you don't have time to exercise. That means you live on drugs to balance diabetes type 2, which we are balancing the sugar, not the insulin resistance, which is the disease. So most of the time, we go back to the diet. If you open a tap of water here, Linda, and there is a basket or a bucket here, and you don't close this tap, the water will spill out. So we need to close this tap, and maybe if the bucket have a tap, you open the tap here so that the water can go down to the level that you want. The same thing with the diabetes. We stop the cause, which is the diet. Now we start working out on how to reduce insulin in the blood so that the body can recognize the natural insulin in you without depending on outside insulin. So this is where we come to diet. What type of diet should a diabetic patient eat? What type of diet you should eat to prevent diabetes? Because when you go to a nephrologist, it's a doctor who deals with a kidney problem. Those people, they really feel for diabetic patients because they go there when the case is advanced. And you see that we need to prevent this patient to reach to a point that the disease cannot be reversible. That is why we come into nutritionists.
Okay.
You need to know that what am I supposed to eat so that I cannot get diabetes? What am I supposed to eat because already I have diabetes? And I always say, follow up with your doctor. When you come to our place, still follow up with your doctor. I'm not the one who will tell you to do away with insulin. I'm not the one who will tell you to do away with the drugs. It is your doctor. Because after doing tests, after checking you, they will see that everything is going back to normal.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's a dietary disease, we have treated it with diet. Diabetes is reversible because it is a dietary disease. And I say diabetes type 2, but diabetes type 1, you need to live on insulin. You are an insulin dependent.
Okay.
Diabetes
What if you take
2,
lots of sugars?
Sorry?
What if you take lots of sugars? I see some of them, when it feels like, insulin is low, they'll take a sweet. And I know we're not discussing that other type of diabetes, but in such a scenario, what do you do?
Yeah, in such scenario is when they always have a tag. When you get me down, you give me soda. I have my soda in my bag. I have my sugar. I have my sweets. Just put them in my mouth, and I still, in few minutes, I will wake up.
If you take all these things in excess,
you will get diabetes type 2.
Type 2.
Yes.
All right. So that's why the insulin comes in.
Yeah, that's now the insulin. You have to balance.
Oh, okay.
You have to balance what you are eating.
All right.
And if you are fond of sugary foods, if you're fond of carbohydrates, starch, if you're fond of that is your diet, my friend, you won't escape diabetes.
Okay.
You will still have to gain weight. You will still have multiple problems that comes out with insulin resistance.
Okay.
Even infertility. There are some people who are infertile because of insulin, too much of insulin in the body. So they cannot balance the sugar, they cannot balance the insulin. which is the disease. If the viewer will get that the sugars is not the disease, it is the symptom. Diabetes Association of Kenya, they say diabetes type 2 is insulin resistance.
Okay.
Even in America, wherever, all over the world, they say diabetes type 2 is insulin resistance.
Okay.
The food you eat is what causes resistance of your insulin in the body. Because the more you eat, the body calls for insulin. The more you eat, the body calls for insulin. So the insulin become part of the body. Now the body cannot recognize that insulin. So, and you are continuing taking sugars, starch, carbohydrates, you are taking them a lot. So what will happen? The sugars will spill in your blood.
Okay.
When you go for the test, you get all the symptoms. When you go for the test, you find that you are diabetic type 2. Now, what should this patient do? What can you do to prevent diabetes type 2?
Okay.
Number 1, you need to avoid carbohydrates as much as possible. You minimize or you avoid them completely. Because they are major cause of multiple problems, not only diabetes, multiple problems in the body. Even cancer is influenced by insulin resistance in the body. So insulin, if it doesn't normalize in your body, it will cause multiple problems. Second thing, you need to avoid sugars. We have simple sugars, like sugars in our snacks, sugars that we add in our tea every day, sugars in our soft drinks. Those ones, they cause insulin resistance, and especially when you are a fan of them. That is your lifestyle, There's some people that is their lifestyle. Maybe once in a while you can go to a party and maybe think of sipping something that you don't use. That one cannot cause problem immediately. The thing is when you get used to it.
This would include the natural sugars. Speak of honey, speak of eating fruits that are sugary, speak of eating natural foods, proceeds from the farm that are sugary.
Okay, when you are diabetic, already you are diagnosed with diabetes, you need to avoid even natural sugars.
Okay.
So that first we reverse the disease.
All right.
After the disease is reversed, even honey, there's a diabetic patient who take honey thinking it is good for diabetes. No. there is this sweeteners they put in their tea, thinking that it is manageable with insulin resistance. No, that one will make your sugars to fluctuate. We have people who take sugar cane. Sugar cane will make your sugars to be worse. I talk about bananas, I talk about pineapples. Most of fruits, when you are diabetic, you need to minimize as much as possible, or you do away with them. We reverse the disease, then now you can introduce the body to natural sugars. But when you don't have diabetes, you can take the natural sugars and they won't bring insulin resistance, because that is what the body needs to feed on,
but this
not artificial sugars.
These very ones are very, very important also when we're talking about nutrition and, you know, achieving all the balance and the values that you'd want. And so when we tell this person whom you're telling, you should be very big on your balance and on your diet and how you balance and your nutrition and how you get it right. And then at the same time, you're telling them to avoid such sugars. How do they compensate for the same?
Okay, you see, when you don't do fruits, I say if you're diabetic, you can do things like apples in moderate also. Things like berries, we have blueberries, we have strawberries. They are good with diabetes, but in moderate too. But with diabetes, the best thing for diabetes is vegetables.
Okay.
You shift from white color, because the white color is the major cause of insulin resistance. You come to green color. In the green world, we have green vegetables. A diabetic patient, if you take green vegetables, it doesn't matter how much you are taking, and especially when they are raw or steamed, they will really help in reversing your diabetes type 2. So you avoid white, you go to green. Then we come to protein. A diabetic patient, too much of protein also causes insulin resistance.
Okay.
But if you take small portions of protein, they help the body to control or to reverse diabetes. What is this protein? We have said all vegetables. Protein we have, there are some people who are vegan, plant-based vegans. If you are plant-based vegan, it's good you do plant-based. If you are not a plant-based vegan, you can do animal products. It's like white meat. You can do eggs in moderate.
Okay.
I have said in moderate. You can do red meat, few pieces per day, not a half kg per day. That is too much for the body. If you are not a plant-based vegan, you can do, with scientists they say, goat meat is better in red meat than the cows, the beef, yes, the pork. Why? Because they say goats, they eat bitter herbs. It depends with what they eat. So if goats, they eat bitter herbs and they are very selective on what they eat, they say the meat is friendly to the body in moderate. The key here is moderate.
Moderate, yes.
So we have also heavy fats. A diabetic patient should use, or for you to prevent diabetes. We have heavy fats like olive oil, we have coconut oil, we have sunflower oil, which is good for a diabetic patient. And also we have, I've said olive oil, it's good. So healthy fats are also good for diabetic patient. There are people who use canola. Canola, it's another name. The other name of canola is grape, I think, rapeseed oil. It's highly toxic to the body.
Oh yeah?
Canola is highly toxic to the body.
Okay.
That's another topic for another day.
Another day, yeah.
Yes, but when you are diabetic, you dine on protein and vegetables, less fruit. Fruits are tricky because of sugar, so that they won't fluctuate your sugars in the blood. Fruits are tricky. So less sugar, less fruits, more vegetables. We have a lot of vegetables. We have broccoli, we have bok choy, we have arugula, we have celery, we have parsley, we have coriander, the dania, we have it. Those are green. We have kales, we have collards, we have spinach, we have vine spinach, which is very friendly to the body. We have French beans. You see, those are greens that we are supposed to feed on when we are diabetic or to prevent diabetes. A diabetic patient should not take juices, because juices, they are turned into glucose so fast. So it will fluctuate the sugars.
Okay.
A diabetic patient, you should take smoothies, and especially green smoothies. And I say, for these smoothies to work from the cellular level or into the cellular level, we need to remove toxins from the blood. We need to cleanse the liver to balance the chemistry of the pancreas, the spleen, the liver, the kidney. We remove toxins from that, from those organs.
Okay.
So that when you take smoothie, when you take this protein, when you take this vegetable, it will go to the cellular level without hindrance. Because when assimilation is poor, you will take these things, but there are people who their colon is clogged up because of taking these carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Because there is no fiber, so they don't feel to go for a long call. So even most of the doctors, when they do X-ray or scanning, they just write a lot of feces seen in the descending colon, the large intestines. So you are packed to the point that whatever you eat, it is never assimilated to the blood, into the cellular level. So what are you supposed to do? We cleanse the body. We have the colon cleanse that removes the feces from the colon, and then we have something we call blood detox. The blood detox cleanses the liver, the kidney, the blood to the cellular level. And then now you change your diet. With the diabetes type 2, the key is insulin resistance. So it is reversible, because insulin resistance is caused by diet. So when we change the course, which is diet, you know, when they come to my place, I have the diet summary that I offer. And then I have the kit. I have something to balance the chemistry of the pancreas, not to give insulin, no, to balance the chemistry of the pancreas to function properly, to give insulin accordingly, not to give insulin in excess, which is causing insulin resistance. So after that, you continue with the diet. That works like 2 to 3 months. You are done with something to balance.
You've reversed the whole, all right.
Exactly, 2 to 3 months.
Yes, even
some
it doesn't matter. Are there stages to this? It doesn't matter how deep the stage is, or how far maybe you've taken insulin that has damaged you even further.
The challenge is when the kidneys have failed.
Okay.
That's where the challenge is, because we have to measure the portion of the food that you're taking. But when your kidneys have not failed, it doesn't matter.
And so you reverse in totality?
You will reverse totality, 100%, confirmed by your doctor, not me. Me, just precaution. I'll give you the detox. I'll give you the diet summary. You go and do it at home.
Okay.
Continue to see your doctor. Continue to follow what your doctor says. Take test after 2 months, 3 months, and you'll see even the blood count, the quality of your blood.
Okay.
If you are overweight, you will come back down to the normal weight because you have stopped taking the carbs.
How do you manage the complications? Fine, now that you're treating diabetes itself, but then, like we have agreed, there are complications that come along with it. There are days that you would consider as sick days. As you are into this way of medication, or into making sure that you balance the meals and the diet, how then do you balance the sick days, or address the sick days to a point where you'll successfully manage the 3 months?
You see why the body is failing, or the organs are wearing out. You have made your body to be a dump site. So the body is crying for relief.
Okay.
We say cleanse your body from inside out. Inside out. And the skin will tell that there is something that's happening in your system. So when you have made your body a dump site, the organs will not function properly. That is when we say you need to fast as much as possible. And when I tell a client with diabetes that you should fast, then they're like, how? This is not possible. We are given 5 meals in a day. You see, I said the more you eat, the more the body calls for insulin. The more you become resistant to insulin. So you have made your body a dump site, which calls for more insulin, and the more insulin you have in the body, it will fail more organs in the system. Because it's not supposed to be spilling in the blood, to be just circulating in the blood. No, it's supposed to take the sugars, take them back to the tissues. That is the work of the hormone insulin. But now when you have made your body a dump site, from January to December, your body is a dump site. Definitely, you will have what we call, there's a word I use, you'll have what we call, the body will be crying to be saved. So in a dump site, you'll get rats, cockroaches, you see, a bad smell in a dump site. And then even in a dirty house, the same thing, flies all over. And cockroaches all over because the body is the house is dirty. The same thing with your body. When you have a lot of carbohydrates in the system, the body will call for more insulin, and the more insulin you get, the sugars will go high, the pressure will go high. You see, now when you have other complications, I have to detox and try to give you something to reverse.
Okay.
If you have hypertension, I'll give something to reverse. If you have something like we call blood clot, I'll give something to reverse. With the help of your diet.
And diet.
Because I say, a doctor does only 10% or 20% to make your disease to go or to reverse. And but 80%
is you.
It's a client. Because if I say don't eat, you go and eat, what can I do? What can I do? So
once you are done, reversing the process, say 3 months after, taking the cleansing, tabs or processes that you're supposed to, and then you get into proper diet. So does it then mean that once the situation is reversed, then you have to stick to such a diet, you have to stick to eating well so that you do not again get diabetes, because it's possible?
Absolutely. You see, if you stop smoking today because maybe of a lung infection, and then you are told by the doctor, stop smoking, it's causing problems to your lungs, inflammation. Then when you stop smoking and then you are treated and the inflammation is reversed, then after 2 weeks or 1 month you start smoking again. Do you think the problem will go? It will come back again. The same thing with this kind of diet. So when we have reversed the condition or insulin resistance, when you have reversed it, what you're going to do is to measure now the portion. That's now we come on counting the calories. Okay. How much are you taking? Not that you are not going to take them completely, but you are going to measure how much are you supposed to take. Because when you take excess, it will still go back to diabetes type 2. When you take them in moderate, you will be able to reverse or to not to get the diabetes again. Okay. So here is the key. Every time you have any kind of a disease, and the doctor have said, stop this and this, then when you are okay, you go back to the same food. You go back to the same problem. Okay. So you need to stop. Like, you see, like meat. Okay, me, I don't take red meat at all. But there are people who take red meat. If these people take red meat in moderate, it doesn't affect them. But if you get nyama choma, every weekend you are eating nyama choma, you are doing alcohol every weekend or every day, that one will be excess to the body. Too much of something is poisonous. Yeah. You need to eat this food as medicine. You cannot take a packet of painkillers, put them on your hands, and you swallow them at once. No. But the food that you take them as medicine. So if it is meat, take like 4 pieces of red meat in a meal. The small pieces, the small chunks, take 4 or 5 pieces. But when you do a quarter of a kg, that's a lot to the body, and the body has to complain that this is too much. Whatever you are doing is too much. And then that is now when you get diseased.
All right. Well, amazing. Daktari, sometimes I have a lot of learning to do when you're here. And in most cases, I won't want to distract your line of thought. I allow you to expound further on this. And I would want to assume then that we have gotten to a level where we've touched on everything that one would want to know about diabetes. So it's pretty simple. It's about what you eat. This will help you from getting diabetes, but at the same time, when we say about the fact that you have been diagnosed with diabetes, then there's a way to reverse the same. In most cases, I'm told this is actually what we're told, that it's a condition that you stay with for the rest of time, and therefore you have to manage it.
It's but because we treat sugars
as opposed
instead
to
of insulin resistance, the disease system. You see, diabetes is not sugars. No, it is symptoms. Sugars are symptoms. Diabetes is insulin resistance. So we say even if your sugars is normal, you have been given medicine and the sugars is normal. It doesn't matter whether it's normal or not normal. You are going to get all complications of diabetes later on.
Okay.
And that's why you started with one type of medicine. After 6 months, they add more medicine. After 10 years, you have like 5 to 6 types of medicine.
Okay.
We say the best doctor
is food.
The best doctor is food, is whatever you eat. Or I say the best doctor, when you go there, they should not add more drugs.
Okay.
They should be reducing drugs.
The drug.
That says the body is doing well.
All right.
But when you get more medicine, know that there is a problem in the body. Yeah. The body is getting worse. So even if your sugar is okay, you get patient and they tell you, my sugars are okay as long as I'm on my insulin, as long as on my glucophage or metformin, my sugars are okay. I have said even if your sugars are okay, your diabetes is worse even than before.
Wow. That's the truth of the matter.
That is the truth. That is better. It's the truth of the matter.
Let's help this very many people who are on insulin today and they have diabetes mellitus, and they probably want to get to know how do they reverse this? How do they reach you?
Okay, I have a Facebook page, Adam's Natural Health Center. My account is Rose Monyinyi.
Yeah. And
then I'm running 2 clinics only. And most of the people, they use my name that I have clinic somewhere else. No. I only have 2 clinics. One clinic is here in Nairobi, another one is in Nakuru. In Nakuru, I operate over the weekends. In Nairobi, I'm here from Monday to Friday. So they can reach me via my cell phone number, which is 0723 390 411. I repeat again, 0723 390 411. Get to know that you are what you eat. After long-term abuse of the system, the body will show up the symptoms. God bless you as you plan to come and see me.
All right, Maya Muhammad says the doctor is only focusing on overweight, but there are others who have lost nearly 13 kgs now. How can they gain back?
Okay, now with that, there is another issue in the system. And there are some people who are, they are not big, but they have diabetes. But you see, the thing is, the problem is inside. There is what we call imbalance of the body chemistry, imbalance of hormone insulin in the system. That one can cause you to reduce your weight. So if you want to gain weight, you still come to our place.
Okay.
I'll show you, eat this, don't use this, eat this. You see, some people, they say, because I want to gain weight, I will eat all the junks. And when you eat all the junks, your weight goes down, down, and down. Why?
Okay.
Because the body cannot recognize that there is food to make fat or to produce fat, make you big. You see? Because there is imbalance of the body chemistry. And the imbalance of body chemistry is caused by toxicity in the system. Toxicity, we get them from what we eat every day. Your food, the air we breathe, the water we drink. You see, we say the other day, our makeups, our clothes, you see. Our lifestyle in general, it causes toxicity in the system. When we get toxicity, the body becomes imbalanced. When the body becomes imbalanced, the food cannot go to the cellular level.
All right, let's read some more. What about legumes, kinanjahe, beans, kamande, ndengu, etc.? What's their part in insulin resistance?
That's why I talked about plant-based people. Those who cannot do meat, they can use those legumes. They can use the what she have mentioned. They can use the njahe, they can use the beans. Those are plant-based protein.
Okay.
Yes, you can do plant-based protein instead of animal protein, because animal proteins, they have their consequences, especially when you take them abundantly.
All right.
They will cause other problems in the body. If you take them moderately, they won't cause problems.
All right.
Yeah.
Carol Jerry agreed. Insulin resistance is the key topic here. Insulin resistance, not so much diabetes. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Rose John. You know, people keep telling me, usikule sukari mingi utapata diabetes and all that. Usikule hii and hii, and you get worried. I'm not saying that I'm happy this morning because then I can eat everything and then, well, at some point when I am diagnosed, at least I know I can reverse. But I think, as Dietary says, in most cases, she starts from levels where she says, let's think of how we can stop a scenario where we're going to be diagnosed with that. So we speak of, you know what, do not get yourself
Prevention
into...
is better.
Prevention is better than cure.
Exactly.
That's actually the essence of it. I'm told there's a message. What is it again? Dego from Vihiga says, he says he's practiced intermittent fasting and diabetes has gone away. True? It works?
It works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one, it works. Fasting is the key. I forgot to talk about fasting.
Yes.
And what you see, when you fast for long hours, for example, you take your dinner around between 9. You take your dinner around 10, between 9 and 10.
Yes.
And then in the morning, the first thing in the morning, when you check your glucose, the glucose level is always down because you have not eaten anything. You have been fasting for 6 to 9 hours.
Okay.
So fasting brings the glucose level down. Because we have seen when you eat, the body calls for insulin. So when you stop eating, you see, the body will start burning the sugar which is in the body. It will start using that sugar. As you have said, we are told exercise more. Because when you exercise, you see, like athletes, they cannot get diabetes. They cannot get high blood pressure. Plant-based people who are vegetarian, not vegetarian, vegans.
The herbs and all,
Those, they take herbs, they take food plant-based, you know. They cannot get any heart problem. That is stroke, hypertension, diabetes. They can't get overweight. They can't get. Why? Because whatever they take, that is what the body needs to balance the system, to balance everything in the body. So when you fast, the religion part of it, we have seen, like the Muslims, our brothers, when they fast during Ramadan, those people who eat the right diet, they come to me and they tell me, you know what, Dietary, I wish the Ramadan could go forever. Why?
Health benefits.
Because when I'm fasting, when I don't eat, I'm just eating one meal in a day, my sugar levels are okay. So fasting is another topic that helps to reverse diabetes. But Diabetes Association of Kenya, they cannot advocate fasting. But it is the key to reverse diabetes type 2. Because when you don't eat, the body will start recognizing the insulin. That is what we call intermittent fasting. You can start fasting 6 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours to 24 hours. That means you take one meal in a day. The body will start recognizing the insulin that is in the system. And some people, it doesn't work. Why? Because of toxins. I repeat there, you fast, but nothing changes. You fast, you get all healing crisis complications, and even sometimes they put you down. Why they put you down? Because of toxins. You have other issues laying in the system. So when we remove toxins and metabolic waste, this waste lying in your blood, lying in your kidneys, lying in your tissues, from the cellular level, we remove them. You won't have that we call severe healing crisis. They will be mild. Yes, they will be, the body now will be able to accept the changes, the changes that you are doing. But when you come from here, you want to jump to the other side without detoxifying here, you get a lot of challenges.
All right, Alex Arika says, was admitted on Saturday because my sugars were at 18.7 and I was started on insulin with Domacron tabs, and now the sugars are at 9. What does that mean?
They have controlled the sugar, they have not treated diabetes. They have not treated insulin resistance. That means always on drugs, once on drugs, always on drugs when you have diabetes, if you're not going to the cause. Yes. Alex
Arika is asking, what of meat, white meat like fish and chicken? You say
that's okay, that's healthy,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, maybe Alex Arika might need to get a hold of you. Once again, your numbers, we come to a close.
Okay, my cell phone number is 0723 390 411. 0723 390-411. My Facebook page is Adams Natural Health Center. You can go there and learn more and also see other interviews that I've done here. That we say knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. So when you get the knowledge, nobody will maybe try to maneuver your brain. You'll be able to know, what am I supposed to do? Diet is the key. We are what we eat. Yeah. Eat today, it will walk and talk tomorrow.
There you go. Thank you so much, Dr. Rose John. Lots of feedback this morning. Evidently, there was need for us to have that conversation, and we'll continue having more of this. Every time you see Dr. Rose John here, you can always be rest assured that, you know, in the aspect and angle of nutrition, there's a huge way that you can be able to live a normal life, you know, avoid all these diseases that will crop up because you probably did not look so much into making sure that you balance, you have a balanced diet, or your diet is good. And it's always a pleasure to have you. And of course, I hope that people can get a hold of you, because the feedback continues to trickle in. There is that need that we all get assistance. But above everything, I think I'll go with her mantra. It's always important that you look at what it is that you eat today, because it will definitely walk and talk tomorrow. We close it at that. We are getting to a different conversation altogether as we take a look at how beautiful we can look. But again, you know, it boils down to nutrition. In as much as you want to have all the facial procedures that there are, it is important that you also take a look at what you eat. If you look at Dietary, she keeps telling me that no foundation, no nothing, but her skin looks good, simply because she is keen on what it is that she takes. I hope we can follow suit. We close this one at that, and in a few, we'll be back with a different conversation on making sure that you have your face glowing.
You are watching TV 47, the home of untold stories.
DJ graba daba, alafu cheza doba, ikibamba sana unabulo bara saba.
Kama maji kwa mtungi, nyonga pole baby, nivute niishi nibaki kishungi.
Ona umelewa, eti ujalewa. Ona umelewa, kumbe ushapewa. Mbona umelewa? Kimbia mbele rudi nyuma, wetikisa wezi. Uena ma.
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, you found me 5 minutes before I started recording, but anyway, so most of you have been asking me why I started Lady CLC Nighting with Joy Rongo. I have also had my own share of pain. I know how it feels to want to give up. This is basically here to speak hope and inspire somebody who's going through a rough patch, to tell them that they can turn their pain into power. Our guests are normally here to share their experiences so that you can know somebody else did it, so you can also come out of it stronger and better. Let me go to my recording, and remember to always stay tuned every Saturday at 8:30 p.m.
A vigorous soap opera about two lovers fighting against their relentless fate, which opposes them in the heist of murder, lies, betrayal, and secrets of those who claim to love them. Sylvia and Bruno Alvarado will do whatever it takes to get rid of anyone who interferes with their plans. The paths of Maya and Alberto cross under a devastating storm. Right there between the tempest, a love that will provide a strong reason to go on will arise.
Me llamo Mía. Le voy a dar algo para que lo cuide. De veras que le hace falta. Nos volveremos a encontrar.
Me llamo Alberto.
Oriana Roldan is between Maya and Alberto. a renowned bullfighter with a psychotic personality, willing to do anything to regain Alberto's love. So Much Love, 8 p.m. only on TV 47. Problem. It could be eyewear for your visual needs, automotive for your car troubles, or even art for your creative spaces. Here at The Grind, Violet Njoki helps quiet all the business noises and make sense of it all with business advice.
The first thing is to start.
Tips
They should